Dear all, welcome to the class of International Economics. So this is the second class of International Economics. I hope you have enjoyed the first class. So if you didn't watch that first class, please go and watch that first class and come to this class. So in the first lecture, we have given an introduction to international economics. We have also explained what is the scope and what is the importance of international economics. And finally, we have discussed what are the subject matters of international economics. There we have said there are two branches for international economics, that is international trade and international finance. So today we are giving an introduction to international trade. So what is international trade? And some of the aspects related to the international trade we will be discussing today. So we can go to the class. So we will be discussing three matters or three aspects in today's lecture. First one is what is internal and what is international trade. Okay, then secondly, why do nations engage in international trade, or we can say what is the importance of international trade, why the nations are engaging in international trade. Thirdly, we will be discussing international trade and its relationship with economic development, whether it leads to economic development or not. So this is the third discussion. So what is internal trade, or we can say that inter-regional trade, and what is the international trade? So there is a small difference here, not only small but it is big. Internal trade is defined as an exchange of goods and services among the residents of the same country. Trade is happening here and the exchange of goods and services is happening, but it is happening among the residents of a same country. So if it is happening like that, we will say that it is inter-regional trade or internal trade. So there is only one country, so that trade is happening between the residents of that same country. So that is internal trade. Then if you are talking about international trade, so same kind of exchange of goods and services also happening, but it is happening between the residents of a given country and those of the rest of the world or any other country. So the exchange of goods and services is happening, but it is not between the residents of a same country, but it is between the residents of two countries or two or more countries. Okay, so if it is happening like that, we will say that it is international trade. Okay, I think this concept is very clear for all of you, so no need to explain much. So there are so many similarities between the internal trade and international trade, because in both cases exchange of goods and services is happening and transfer of finances is happening, and there will be two persons and give and buy will be happening in both cases. So these all are similar in both cases, but only the context is different, and there are also some other differences between the internal and international trade. So what are the differences? Firstly, so this is I have made a table, and you can see that on what basis we can make difference and what is the differences between the internal trade and international trade. The firstly, mobility of factors. First basis is mobility of factors. What are the factors of production? As you know, it is land, labor and capital. But however, land is fixed in one place. it is not able, it is not movable. But the capital and labor, it is movable from one place to another place. So this is called mobility of factors, whether it is movable from one place to another place. So normally, if you are talking internal trade, the classical economist assumed that there is a perfectly, the capital will be perfectly mobile within the country and immobile between the countries. So this is the assumption of classicals. All the classical theories, you may see this assumption. So there is a perfectly mobile within the country. It means that the land, not the land, but the capital and also the labor is perfectly mobile, within the nation. But it is perfectly immobile, or it is not movable between the countries. That was the assumption of classicals. But is it true? The capital is not, capital is not movable from one country to another country. Is it true? No, there is some kind of some possibility of moving of capital and also labor from one country to another country. Okay, so it is not perfectly immobile, but we can say that the degree is higher. The degree of mobility of factors of production is higher in the internal trade and less in international trade. In simple way, we can say that if we are considering only India, the capital and labor is mobile. In this region, there is no any restrictions. If I want to go to Calcutta, I can go. Okay, but it is not like that. If I want to go to Europe, because I need visa, I need passport, and there are some other restrictions also. Okay, so that's why it is neither free nor perfect in international market. Okay, so it is also affecting the international trade. Secondly, mobility of products. What about the mobility of products? Is it free mobile from one place to another place? Yes, it is perfectly mobile within the country. There is no much hindrances or restrictions. But in international market, it is neither free nor perfect, because there might be some tariff or non-tariff barriers, and it may not be there won't be perfect mobility of products. So it is common. Then what about the nature of markets? In the internal trade, we have more or less homogeneous markets. All the rules and regulations, government and everything is same in internal trade. But what about the international trade? It is heterogeneous. Markets are heterogeneous. Then fourthly, resource endowments. All the countries will have different kind of resource endowments. India will have different kind of endowment, and OPEC country will have different kind of endowment. So what they will do, they will specialize in that resource endowment, and they will produce it and they will exchange in their country. So that is happening in internal trade. But in the international trade, they will specialize in some kind of resource endowment, and they will produce some of the goods and they will export it. Okay, that is a difference. So in both cases there are resource endowments, but in one case it is used for the domestic purpose, and in another case it is exporting or importing. This all will happen in international trade. Then geographic and climatic condition. It is will be always uniform or similar in if you are considering internal trade, and it might be different in international trade. So there is a chance of price differences in the international trade, but in internal trade there won't be much price differences due to the geographic or climatic changes or differences. Then sixthly, production conditions, production techniques and everything, it is almost identical in internal trade. So there is no price differences much because of this. But it will be different in international market. One product might be more labor might be used for one production in one country, but it is may not be in same proportion in another country. So the production conditions, production techniques, everything might be different, so the price also will be different. Then seventh, nature of currencies. One country will have one or two currencies, normally one currency, or might be some other official currency also might be there. But what about the different countries? If it is different countries, the currencies will be different and there will be exchange rate. So if you want to buy some other goods, we need some other currencies. These all things will be happening. Okay, then economic environment. It will be uniform in internal market. Economic environment means laws, regulations, rules and everything will be uniform, but it will be different in international market. Then transportation cost and trade restrictions. Transportation cost will be less in internal trade, and there won't be any trade restrictions in internal trade normally. But in international level, there will be trade restrictions, and also the cost of transportation also might be high. Then the national policies. There will be single uniform fiscal and monetary policy in a nation, but it will be different in different nations. Then payment problems. So there will be a micro level payment, so it will be person to person, so there won't be any, it will be easy adjustment, so there won't be any much problems in payments, monetary payments. But in international level, it is a macro, and also there is a possibility of disequilibrium, balance of payment disequilibrium. So there is a problem how to adjust this balance of payment disequilibrium. So these all problems are there. Then finally economic nationalism. There will be a common political economic system in one country, so it will be very easy for internal trade, but it may not be the case in international trade. So these are the differences of internal and international trade. So if we are talking in internal trade, might be a little easy for the transaction, for all the transactions. But international level, it might be little risky, or it might be little difficult, or there might be some restrictions. But also there is a positive and a negative, advantage and disadvantages for the both of the cases. So now, okay, so these are the differences. Then why the why the nations engage in trade? What is the importance of trade? Why we need trade? Why do we need trade? So firstly, we can ask this question: why the people engage in trade? Why do you engage in trade? Why we are engaging in trade? We are engaging in trade because we have only limited endowments. We have discussed these three issues, or two issues in basics of microeconomics. Our wants are unlimited, our endowments are limited, and we are the gain maximizers. So we want to maximize our utility, we want to maximize our satisfaction. So we need to consume a lot of things. We need to consume apple, and we need to consume fish, we need to consume rice, we need to consume chapati, and it is not possible to produce all of these commodities in one house or one factory or one firm. I am not able to produce all these things, so I'll be buying some of the things from from the shops. So if I don't have a pen, I'm not able to produce it, so I'll be buying a pen from the shop. It will be costly around 10 rupees. It is very cheap for me. If I'm producing it, its cost might be very high. So it means the people have limited resource endowments or limited availability of goods, so they need to trade each other. If I have some more goods, I'll sell that products to others, and I'll buy some of the products from others. So this is the normal case if we are considering the people. Or but what about the nation? Why do nations engage in trade? Why the countries engage in international trade? Same technique, same logic. Because the endowments are different and the country's wants are unlimited, and also the country wants to maximize the utility or maximize the gain from the trade. So some of the countries might be endowed with petroleum like OPEC countries, and some other countries might be endowed with manpower like India and China, but some other countries with technology or more capital like UK or US or any other country. So what they will do? So with this endowment, whatever they can produce, they will produce and they will export it, and or they also will consume it. But if they want some more goods, they will import from other countries and they will maximize their gain. They won't specialize in all goods. They will specialize in particular goods, and they will buy some of the goods from abroad. So they will import it. So the same technique also works in country's case or nation's case. And also let me tell you another reason why the nations are engaging in trade. You can also think why the nations are engaging in trade. If we are buying some products from China, if we are importing some products from China, why we are importing products from China? Because the price might be less there, and it might be very quality products than we can buy from China. If the price is high, do we buy that products from China? No. So it is because of the price difference, right? So that's why the nations are engaging in trade because of the price difference. Why there is a price difference? Why there is a price difference between different countries? There are so many reasons for that. One important reason: changes in the demand and supply. Suppose that here tomato we are producing a lot, supply is very huge. There are so many farmers and we are able to produce large number of potatoes. What will happen? Potatoes price will increase or decrease? Price will decrease because the supply is very high, it is very cheap, everywhere it is available, then the price will be less. But what about the demand? Suppose the demand for a product, a particular pen or any particular commodity, the demand for that product is very high, the people needs that commodity, then what will happen? The price will go up, right? So the price, so the demand and supply will be different in different countries. So according to that demand and supply, there will be differences in the price. So this price difference is the main cause why the nations are engaging in trade. There might be so many other reasons, but this is the main reasons why the nations are engaging in trade. Okay. So there might be cost differences or differences in supply conditions which may create the price differentials. and also there might be differences in demand conditions which creates the price differentials. It is also possible. So let me take some of the examples of changes in the variations in the demand and supply curves. Then I will show you why the trade is happening, why the trade is important. So here you can see the 4 diagrams. Okay, I think figure 1.1, figure 1.2, 1.3 and 1.5. You have seen it. So in the first picture, figure 1.1, we can take that picture. Okay. In the figure 1.1, there is two countries, home country and also the foreign country. Okay. Home countries demand and supply curve of a particular product. Suppose one pen or any product is given in home country in the right side of the first diagram, and in the left side the demand and supply curve of the same product in foreign country is also given in the left side. For the simplicity purpose it is given in the left, and the demand and supply curve of home country is given in the right. Okay, is it clear? So you know that the price will be determined according to the demand and supply conditions. That is sure for you. In the home country, what will be the price of that product, particular product? It will be P2, right? It will be P2. Why it is P2? Because the supply and demand is intersected at that point, that's why the price is P2. Okay. Then what about the price of the same product in foreign country? It is P1. Why it is P1? Because the demand and supply curve is intersected at this point. Then the price is P1. Okay. Then so you understood that the price is high in the foreign country and the same product it is very cheap in home country. So what is the possibility? There is a possibility of trade. Suppose that the price is fixed at P0. Price is fixed at P0. Then what will happen? At P0, the demand curve and supply curve of home country is not intersected. Okay, there is a difference. What is the difference? AB. Right, AB is the difference between the demand and supply. Whether the supply is high or demand is high, supply is more. AB amount of supply is more produced. So what we will do with this more production? We will export it. We will export this AB, and if the foreign country is able to import that AB, here you can see that A1 and B1. So they will import the same amount of commodity. Then both the countries will get benefit. Why? Because home country is getting high price P0. Okay, and if you are considering the foreign country, they are getting at the cheap rate because it was P1 before, but now they are getting at P0. So both are happy. So why it happened? That's why I said because of the differences in the demand and supply curve. Here in the picture you can see that the demand curve is almost similar. But what about the supply curve? Supply curve is different because one curve is more flatter, SX. Supply curve of home country is more flatter, and supply curve of foreign country is steeper. Okay, so the elasticity is more for the home country. That's why this price difference is occurring for the first case. Supply curve elasticity is different. That's why there is a possibility of trade and there is a possibility of mutual gain. Okay, then what about if the supply curve is same and the demand curve is different. Elasticity of demand curve is different. So in the second case, you can see the supply curve is almost same, and the demand curve dy of foreign country is steeper, but the demand curve of home country is more flatter. So what about the price of home country? Price of the home country is P1, right? Then what about the price of foreign country? It is P2. It is P2. Okay. Okay. Then I mean, as we have done in the last case, there is a possibility that if the price is P0, what about the AB? Is it excess supply or excess demand? It is excess demand, because you know that demand is more there, dx is more. Okay, the demand is more, AB. So this amount of products, or the quantity of products, will be available from the foreign markets like A1 and B1. So that amount of commodities are available at P0 price. So the both countries can get benefit, because here the price was high, but now we are getting at P0 price. But in the foreign country, what was the case? Earlier the price was less, but now they can increase the price at P0. So both the countries are happy. So in the second case, we are importing the commodities, but in the first case, we are exporting the commodities. Why? Because this is because of the differences in the elasticity of demand and supply. Okay, which one is flatter and all. So there is a possibility that even the demand curve and supply curve might be different in two countries. That is given in the third case. And also one more case also you can given as example, but we are skipping it. But if there is no any differences in the demand and supply curve, then what will happen? That is the case in the 1.5. What you can see, the demand and supply curve of home country and the foreign country is similar and similar flatter. There is no much difference. So the price will be equal in both countries. So there is not any possibility of trade. So what I mean, if there is a difference, in all the cases there will be differences in the supply and demand condition of different countries. So there is always a possibility of international trade, and there is always a possibility of mutual gain through the trade. So this is the idea. So I think it is clear for you. Now, okay. So we can go to the next part of our discussion. I think we can take we can make it in the next video. We will talk about this. Thank you all for listening this video. Thank you very much.